Hello and welcome to the Hold All Tickets a World Pool Preview. Bet with the world on behalf of the Hong Kong Jockey Club. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly, joined by a man in a very nice turtleneck this week. It's Adam Brett. Hello, Adam.
Turtleneck? I don't have a neck, mate, so it can't be a turtleneck.
It looks like it's nice and warm. It looks snuggly, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, behind those lights, it's real warm.
Yeah, it really is as well. But of course, this weekend with the Hong Kong Jockey Club and the World Pool Preview, Doomben 10,000 Day up at Doomben in Queensland. It is wet and wetter, and then we head across to Newbury in England for Lockinge Day there. It is a massive day there. A lot of lead-up races for Royal Ascot involved as well, so it is a huge day on the World Pool this weekend. We're also going to hear from Group 1 winning jockey Tim Clark about some of his rides this weekend. At Doomben, we'll be taking in races 6, 7, 8 and 9 for the World Pool, and at Lockinge Day at Newbury, we'll be taking in the whole card there. So we'll find a couple of bets at Newbury this weekend as well. But you know what? We may as well hear from Tim Clark because he's going to be the star of the show. He's got a couple of key rides this weekend, including the interesting Sir Delius, who comes across having his last start in the Arc and runs in a Group 3 this weekend. So let's hear from Tim Clark now.
Right now on the World Pool Preview, joined by Tim Clark. He's on his way out to Hawkesbury today, but Tim, you've got some interesting rides at Doomben on Saturday.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. Obviously, the carnival's starting to hit full swing up there, so got some nice opportunities and looking forward to the day.
A fair bit of rain around, and we'll focus on your rides in the last 4 races this weekend. First of all, it's probably the most interesting horse of the day running around in Australia. It's in the Chairman's Handicap over 2,000 metres. Sir Delius, first up, 60 kegs, but last start ran 8th in the Arc, beaten 8.5 lengths, and has had 2 trials coming in, but geez, the form stands out here.
Yeah, he brings, obviously an incredible, depth of form from Europe. Obviously, he was a high price purchase at the sales over there, nearing 12 months ago. So obviously he comes here with that little bit of expectation and hype around him. But he's had 3 trials leading in, so he's well and truly in condition. And he's handled soft ground previously, which obviously we're likely to get on the weekend. I've been very pleased with how the horse has been trialling up, and it's got a good nature and seems to have settled in pretty well.
Obviously, Gay loves to have her horses up on the speed in the run, but would you not be too concerned if he did take a sit in behind them, given he's got 60 kilos first up?
Yeah, I think he's been putting himself up on speed in trials, which is totally different to race day pressure. But I think at 2,000 he still will find himself somewhere near the speed, and I guess don't want to be too far off them with that weight being first up. Don't want to see too much of a task, with that big weight on what's going to be probably a wet track. So you want to be up there close to the action, and I feel he can do that on what he's shown at the trial so far.
We move across to the Doomben 10,000. You're on the thriller from Chinchilla, Rothfire. He's getting a bit long in the tooth, but I thought his run at last start in the Victory Stakes was quite good. And at sort of this age and given his breeding, a wet track shouldn't be too much of an issue.
He's got soft track form. I don't know about if it's heavy, but yeah, it was a really good, solid first up run on a day where I don't think any leader won. So I thought if you look at where the horses around him finished, for him to battle on and sort of get as close as he did, it was a really good effort from him first up. And if he can take a bit of improvement out of that run, which he needs to, he's obviously stepping back up to Group 1 company. He needs to take a bit of improvement from his first up run, but he's very consistent. He's an honest gelding and never too far away from the action, especially up in his home state.
The speed looks pretty hot in this race, and he's drawn a wide gate. He's just hoping to get across without too much issues, or even take a sit behind a horse like Zarastro, who looks like he'll try and lead at all costs.
Yeah, I think that yes, there's a fair bit of pace there, but the configuration of the field would change dramatically come Saturday morning if the track goes up heavy with anticipation of some potential scratching. So I think that he's got a pattern where he likes to race forward, and we definitely won't be changing that. Just how far forward that is, we'll have to wait and see.
And in the final race of the day, the Hong Kong Jockey Club World Pool Rough Habit. For the 3-year-olds over 2,000 metres, you stick with Shangri-La Spring. And this horse is just as honest as the day is long. He puts himself on speed. Doesn't matter the conditions. He'll keep going. And he was quite good last start behind Depth of Character.
Yeah, as I mentioned just before, it was that day where it was really, really hard to lead and win. He drew wide that day. Was forced to do a bit of work early, and he was coming back from 2,000 back to a mile, so just a bit of a tricky setup there for him it was, but it was the run he needed to have, otherwise it just would have been too long between runs into this race. So probably a very similar run to that is his performance in the Carbine Club, but then he was able to bounce off that and win the Frank Packer plate. So I expect getting back to 2,000 is a big tick. Wet track is another big tick, and he'll look the winner for a long way.
So safe to say from the sounds of it, obviously Sir Delhi is extremely hard to beat, but you're pretty confident knowing what Shangri-La Spring's already done on the track here.
Well, it's sort of, we know what we're going to get from him, and I think that he, this is a race that sets up really well for him on a track that he will handle. And I think that he's probably, at this present moment, he's probably a little bit over the odds. I expect that he'll be very hard to beat Saturday.
Thank you for joining us today, Tim.
No worries. Cheers, Alex.
Good to hear from Tim Clark there. Of course, a couple of interesting rides this weekend. I did like what he said about Sir Delius and Shangri-La Spring, though.
Look, I'm on Sir Delius too, so I hope he does enjoy it and it does get up. But the one question I do have on it is carrying the 60 kilos, but being Group 3 should be okay.
I'll tell you what, we may as well get into the races this weekend, starting off at Doomben for the World Pool Preview. Of course, 4 races there on the card. Races 6, 7, 8 and 9. Then as said, the full card at Newbury. And of course, you know all your bet types that you can get there. Your win, your places, your each ways, and of course, all the exotics. Quinella, Exacta, Duet, Trifecta and First 4. Big pools this weekend. And I tell you what, there's a pool of water up in Brisbane at the moment. It is wet, Adam.
The sunny state.
Exactly. But yeah, at Doomben this weekend, currently as we're recording a heavy 8, the forecast is not great. So expect it to stay in this heavy range. Rail is in the true position. First race is the Chairman's Handicap over 2,000 metres. It is a Group 3 and we are aligning with our win bets with Sir Delius. You know what? You can take it away with this one.
Yeah, I like Sir Delius. Although, as I just mentioned, it's carrying the extra kilos, so might be the only question mark on it. But it has got a bit of performance in the heavy track before, so I'm going to back it pretty strongly, but I wouldn't be surprised to see potentially immediacy come through and have a fair crack at it as well.
Yeah, I think if this horse is happy, healthy and well, it'll be winning and winning well. Its form lines are just amazing. Of course, the form behind Sosi in the Prix de Paris and the Neil leading up to the Arc before only being beaten 8.5 lengths in an Arc, starting $17 in an Arc. Like, you're going to come to Australia. Provided you've settled in, you're going to win a lot of races. His 2 trials I thought were really good. He looks fit. Tim Clark's confident. I don't mind it.
And I like the fact they gave it the 2 trials too, and went fairly strong. So, every horse that comes into Australia probably doesn't get enough trials. So getting the 2 under the belt, getting a bit of a feel for it, you can't see it going wrong here.
Just have a quick watch on him because he did get pretty fierce in both those trials. He over-raced a little bit, so maybe under proper racing conditions where they get rolling, he may be settling a little bit better. As over 1,200, he's like, I wanted to get this done fast, which fair enough. Like, who wants to just jog around? Race number 7, it's the Bright Shadow. It is a listed race here. It is over the 11-10 metres. It is a pretty tricky race here. Looking for a bit of value here. There's going to be a lot of value around in this race, so I'll kick it off in this event. I'm going to have something each way on Tiger Shark, the top weight here for Nat McCall and Bailey Wheeler. Gives away weight to every other horse in the race, but I thought the win first up was quite good. Now, this mare has a really good second up record, 5 starts for 4 wins. Has had 7 starts at Doom, 4 wins as well. Goes well on soft going out of an Exceed and Excel mare. Yet to see a heavy track, but gets through the soft going so well. I'm banking that the tricky alley is not going to be too much of an issue as we'll get down in the middle of the track late in the day if it's a bit chopped up. And I think she's going to be pretty decent odds because as well, some of the punters may be piling into the Joe Pride horse or the James Cummings J Mac combination with Kin. So I think Tiger Shark will get some really good odds on the World Pool this weekend.
Yeah, I don't blame you for going there. There's so many good horses in this race.
It's a nice race.
You look at Inflight, that's another one you could go. Kin, as you mentioned, is another one. I've actually gone a little bit outside on this one.
Yep.
Backing one of my favourites, and we know what I'm like with favourites. Navy on the Highway for me. So coming out of its last race, I think carried 60.5 kilos, getting a good barrier out of barrier 5. I just think this has got some class, proven on a heavy track before as well. So I think Navy on the Highway for me, but Tiger Shark for you.
Yeah, unbeaten second up as well, Navy on the Highway as well. I'm hoping there's no Navy on the Highway this weekend with Carlton against Sydney in the AFL, but that's a completely different show here. Definitely don't want that. Go the
Still
Swans.
backing Sydney.
I've got to give them a chance. They're my boys. Like, thankfully I won't watch it. I'll be at a wedding on Friday night, so that could be the best thing ever.
Are we allowed to call season done yet?
No. Your team was going worse this time last year.
Yeah, that's true, but I just can't see you guys coming back out of this hole.
Just bring back Errol.
Anyway, back to racing.
Doomben 10,000 is the main race on the day here in Australia this weekend. Of course, it is race number 8, and we're just going to be throwing darts at this race because wet track, some horses may be scratched. So I'm going to have a trifecta.
Throwing darts?
And just have a throw at the stumps here and hopefully get the big collect because we're going to be throwing in some long odds horses here. So I'll just tell you the trifecta. Box them all up, punters. Number 1, Overpass. He's got good form on wet tracks. If it dries out a little bit, he's deadly on soft. His heavy track form is just not good whatsoever. We're going to throw in the best wet tracker in the field, Marzu, a winner of the Doomben 10,000 on a wet track in the past as well. He won this hallmark last start in good fashion. Then the next one, number 7, Golden Mile. Yet has only had one start on a heavy track. That was in a Doncaster 2 years ago, and his mind was elsewhere. He was still a colt then, and he went to stud. He was a bit of a dud. His run first up was quite good, so I'm going to have something on him there. And then the next two in the race, you've got Adam's favourite horse, Hidden Wealth. Really good wet tracker. He runs well, he runs badly, he runs well. His last start, he ran bad, so he'll run well now. And then, of course, Sunshine in Paris for J-Mac and Annabelle and Rob Archibald. Blinker's first time, but geez, it can't draw a barrier. Barrier 14 here after drawing 11 of 11, 11 of 13, and 13 of 14 this time in. Draws 14 of 16 here, but Blinker's on, and she's a pretty decent wet tracker, being out of a Zabeel mare, and Invader got through it too. So let's have a throw at the stumps with that trifecta, but I don't mind Hidden Wealth and Golden Mile.
Yeah, well, you know my thoughts on Hidden Wealth.
I know what you're going to do.
Yeah, well, Hidden Wealth is it for me, and proven on the heavy track too. I actually think Sunshine in Paris out of barrier 14 isn't a miss.
Okay.
And as I've said before, I think if we can keep Sunshine out of Paris out of trouble, and sometimes when it's coming out of the closer gates, it gets into trouble early. J-Mac switching in for Schofield is a genius move. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
I think Sunshine in Paris is a big threat here. We have not seen Sunshine in Paris ridden well for the last 3 starts.
Barriers haven't helped.
I don't think it's been the barrier problem. I think if you go back through all of those, keeps getting into a bad spot, tries to pull out, doesn't get the run, gets blocked for a run. I actually think J-Mac coming on board could be the secret sauce on this one. So I've actually got a really simple trifecta for you. Hidden Wealth, Sunshine in Paris, into Benedetta, all proven in the wet.
Just
all
give
got
me nothing.
Well, Benedetta and Hidden Wealth have got decent gates.
Yep.
But Sunshine in Paris could be the big one to just storm home. So I'm happy with that trifecta.
Bit of a yard watch on Sunshine and Paris. She was apparently first up. She looked god awful, so maybe she was a bit behind, slowly improving into the preparation. And Blinker's on. I think this will be one of her last 2 starts as well, because 5-year-old mare bought by John Camilleri for a big bunch of money a few years ago now. She's already a Group 1 winner, so it's like pick up some money in Brisbane and then off you go to stud, I think.
Yep, agreed. But when you look at things like Marzu and Overpass been a little bit disappointing in the last couple of runs. Marzu, won its last start, but hasn't been convincing for me. So I'm happy to go with my try, and Hidden Wealth is the one out.
Yeah, and Schwartz has every chance of being scratched apparently due to the wet track. He's off to start after this preparation. Race number 9 is the Hong Kong Jockey Club World Pool, a rough habit plate over 2,000 metres for the 2-year-olds. This is a major lead up to the Queensland Derby, which is in a couple of weeks' time. Look, really interesting race here. Obviously, the set weights bring everyone into this race here. I'm sticking with the toppy. Firm agreement here. I thought he was absolutely fantastic in the Frank Packer plate last start. Before that, ran second in the Derby to Aliana, should have won the Tulloch from here to Tullamarine. Like, it was a torturous watch because it was on the Tuesday when we were all in the office watching it. And it was like, well, that wasn't fun to watch, was it? But he's a wet track, not going to be an issue. Been by yes. I think 2000s as far as he's going to want. And been by So You Think as well, who's a high chaparral. I think the wet track's going to be no issue whatsoever. He's had 3 goes on wet tracks for a win and 2 placings. So let's go again with our firm agreement. Back on the wet track for the first time since the Tulloch.
Yeah, I can't go with you on that one.
It's fine.
Firm agreement. Placed 78% of times in its races. Token bridesmaid.
Oh, no,
It does not know how to win. It knows how to run into everything else and finish second and third. Cannot win.
Yeah, sure. It's fine. It's fine. Just give me nothing.
Gave you nothing on that one. I think King of Thunder's another outside roughie on this one too. Not too outside at $6. I've gone right down the bottom. Lowest weight, Bella Detelli. I think I got that one right.
We'll give it to you.
With J-Mac and Chris Waller, pretty good combination, those two.
Yeah,
they do like to win. Has been pretty dominant in its 6 starts, 2 wins, 2 placings and a third, obviously. My big question mark on this is the heavy track because it ran on a soft track and had a win.
Yeah.
But the heavy track could be one that just brings it undone. But I'm expecting to see some solid performance out of this one.
Been by Zed, who is also the sire of Very Elegant. I think she'll get through the wet.
Yeah, I think so too.
No,
pretty confident.
I was about to say, with some colours with red in it, it'll give everyone some vivid memories of Very Elegant. Wouldn't mind seeing another Very Elegant, given how good she was. So that is the Doomben card preview for the World Pool. So across those 4 races, Adam, what's probably your most confident bet of them?
Do we need to ask? Hidden Wealth, all the way.
Hidden Wealth each way all day.
All day.
All right, that is Doomben done and dusted. We'll take a quick break, and after this, we'll preview Newbury. All right, welcome back to the Hold All Tickets World Pool preview with thanks to the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Bet with the world and the World Pool this weekend. So Doomben's done and dusted. We're going to get up to Newbury's. We've got a couple of bets there in the UK. Sunny weather this weekend. The weather forecast looks clear for the next few days. At the moment, currently in Newbury, so this is for the meeting that's coming up on Friday as well. This is last updated overnight. The going is good to firm in places, so we should see some absolutely clean racing. We love racing on a firm going, so can't wait to see how the track plays this weekend at Newbury. Of course, we do have the Group 1 Locking Stakes this weekend. It's going to be an absolutely belting day of racing there. Couple of tips coming up on the day there. First of all, comes up in race number 1. It's a 2,000 metre Group 3 event, and I'm pretty keen on King's Gambit here, who was pretty good last start in Qatar against Rebel's Romance in a much better race than this. And of course, Rebel Romance is one of the best 12 furlong horses in the world. So that kind of form should stand up in a race like this. Ryan Moore jumps aboard as well. That's the biggest tick you can get here. Ryan Moore jumping aboard some of these horses on some of these days in lead-up races as well is a really good tick. So I'm really happy to back King's Gambit. He looks to be one of the standouts of the day on the card at Newbury. Race number 2 is a very tricky race. It's the Highclere Castle Carnarvon Stakes. Now, this is going to be a major lead up for the Commonwealth Cup at Ascot. Now, that's a 2 and 3 year old Group 1 over there, over 1,200 metres. And it's really hard to decipher right now as to who can win that. So I think we can sit back and watch this race because it's going to be a key lead up at Royal Ascot for the Commonwealth Cup. Now, of note, Royal Ascot will be on the World Pool this year as well. So maybe just sit back and have a look. Maybe you've backed an early winner, we can sit back, have a beer or have a coffee late at night if you're planning on sitting up and just watch the Carnarvon Stakes just to see who puts their hand up as a Commonwealth Cup chance. We'll skip ahead to the main race of the day, which is the Locking Stakes. It is a race number 4, Group 1 over the straight mile there. I think the standout across the whole day on the World Pool preview comes up here, and Rosalie On is a good thing in my view. 7 starts, 5 wins, 2 placings, and last season he was absolutely brilliant. He was beaten in the 2,000 guineas there by Notable Speech at Newmarket before going over to Ireland and winning the Irish version, and then he got his revenge over Notable Speech in the St James Palace at Royal Ascot. So we haven't seen him in basically 11 months, but first up into a Group 1 over a mile, and another key lead up to the Royal Ascot there because you do have the Queen Anne, which looks to be the next race as well. So do take note of this race as a key Queen Anne lead-up race, which is the first race of the carnival at Royal Ascot. So look, Rosalie On up against his old mate Notable Speech, who is here, who, as said, won against him at Newmarket last season. And also note, Dancing Gemini gets Ryan Moore aboard, replaces Kieran Schumacher, who's just had a brutal few weeks. Of course, he lost a Group 1 in France last week on protest there. And of course, he was recently dumped by John and Thaddy Gosden as their stable rider. But look, I'm pretty keen on here at number 7, Rosalie On, to get the job done in the Group 1 Locking Stakes. The next few races do look a little bit tricky, so we'll skip ahead to the final event of the day. We have to have a bet in the World Pool Handicap. It is race number 8 on the card, and I'm happy to have a win bet on number 1, Cavallo Nero here. Daniel Muscat takes the ride, has had 4 runs this season. It looks to be pretty decent horse, and I know he does have to give a weight away to all of the other runners in this race. He does carry the top weight here, but he was a strong winner last start over the mile when stepping up to the mile for the first time. His first 3 runs this season were over the 1,400 metres or 7 furlongs, and I'm happy to back him at the top of the handicaps. I think he's a pretty decent horse, and being by Australia, I think the further he gets up in distance, the better he's going to be in time. So that is race 8, number 1, Cavallo Nero, to finish off the day at Newbury this weekend. That is all the races previewed this weekend for the World Pool preview. Of course, thank you to the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Make sure you do bet with the world in the World Pool this weekend. Of course, thank you to Tim Clark for joining us as well, giving us some little insights into a few of these rides this weekend. A couple of really interesting runs, as I mentioned, Sir Delius. I can't wait to see what he does this weekend if he does run. But of course, we'll catch you later on in the season. There is a lot more World Pool previews coming up. Of course, Royal Ascot in the next couple of months as well. We do have a full day of the Stradbroke Day up in Queensland in a few weeks' time as well. A lot more to come this season in the World Pool preview, with thanks to the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Bet with the world on the World Pool.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.